spiked another fever. My dad's getting me some water. They're gonna give me double the dose of antibiotics.
Find anybody, you're gonna have to like buzz him. How do you get him?
If you get that phone, it should call him. There's a phone there. I'm getting double the dose of antibiotics at 9 o'clock because the infection is really bad. Let me just turn down Reed Drummond. Look at this face, y'all. By the way, my eyebrows are still done from Saturday. It is Monday, Memorial Day weekend, and I hope everyone is having an amazing Memorial Day. It is almost 10 o'clock. My dad left about 20 minutes ago to pick up Jeff at the airport. Last night was okay. I woke up again around 2 a.m. not feeling very well, so the nurse gave me some Tylenol, which, I mean, who knew Tylenol is like such a godsend? Oh my goodness. Ooh. Something crazy going on in the hallway. My back is still a little tender, but definitely not as painful as it has been. The doctor came in this morning to chat with me a little bit about the game plan, and it looks like I'm gonna spend one more night here, and that hopefully tomorrow, Tuesday, I will be discharged, which is really exciting. And yeah, I definitely feel a lot better. The tricky thing is I normally feel kind of good in the mornings, and so it's kind of like a toss-up, but hopefully my body keeps feeling better and I'll be out of here soon. So that's the update so far. So I realized I still don't think that I actually explicitly said why I'm in the hospital and like what happened. And with my dad out going to get Jeff and stuff, I figured now would be a good time. So let me explain what happened. And because I'm feeling like a little bit better, hold on. Let me just, okay, so this story begins last week. And I had complained, I think I mentioned this, I had complained about some back pain last week, and about hurting my back. Thursday, I like really felt the like quote unquote pain in my back, and I was like, oh, I must have like done a stretch weird, or like, you know, I had done a few stretches Wednesday night at dance that I was like, not the best. I haven't done these in a long time. I really shouldn't have done those. I thought I just like, you know, hurt my back. So then it was really bothering me by Thursday night, and I was like thinking, oh my gosh, I must have like popped a disc or something, bulged a disc or herniated a disc or something. And then Friday morning, my dad was supposed to fly in at about 8 a.m. and get to Orlando around 10 a.m. and we were going to go to Magic Kingdom. As it turns out, his flight got delayed and delayed and delayed. He didn't end up flying into Orlando. His flight was at 10 p.m. and he didn't end up getting to my apartment until 2 a.m. But at around 8:30 on Friday night, my back was still killing me and I started to get a fever and I started like shaking, like kind of convulsing, and I was like, this is so bizarre, like, you know, maybe it's my body's reaction to my back pain. And like I've had back issues in the past from dance and like stretching out ligaments and stuff and just having like a hypermobile SI joint, and I was like, oh, maybe it's just like my body got sick, like my immune system went down as a result of like this back pain. So luckily, because my dad was home, like in New York, I was like, oh, can you bring me some Tylenol, because I was by myself at the apartment because my husband was up in New York for work. And at this point, it's already like 8 p.m. and I was feeling awful. And I was like, can you bring down some Tylenol? And so he did. And around 2 a.m. on Friday, I took 2 Tylenol. And then woke up the next day. Like my back was still kind of bothering me, but I felt fine. And I was kind of like, well, you know, my mom had also like given my dad some icy hot patches because I was saying that my back hurt. And so I was like, well, I'll just put an icy hot patch on my back. Like it'll be fine. And because we had plans that day to go to Animal Kingdom for the opening of Pandora. So I put the icy hot patch on. I didn't take any Tylenol just yet. So anyway, we get to Animal Kingdom. My back is hurting me, but it's not too bad. So then the line to get into Pandora, just to get into the land, like this This isn't like to get on a ride. This is just to enter the section of Animal Kingdom that is like the new Avatar land. They were saying, oh my god, it's like gonna be 3 hours. So anyway, we're just standing in line waiting to get into Pandora, and my back like was really starting to hurt me. But again, because I've sort of had back issues and like standing for long periods of time like doesn't feel great on my back, I was like, oh, it's probably just that. So eventually we got into Avatar land. I don't even know what they're calling it, Pandora land. We got in, and then we went immediately to the line to wait for the river journey ride. And now that line, so it really only took about 45 minutes to get into Avatar Land, which was great. But then the line to wait to get onto River Journey, which is one of the 2 rides in Pandora, was 3.5 hours. And it was on that line that I like really started, like I had to sit like literally every 2 seconds. Like anytime the line stopped, I knelt down. And I was like, my back is killing me, my back is killing me. And then around 11 o'clock on Saturday, I took 2 more Tylenol. And I was like, I don't know, like, it's just killing me. But after I took the Tylenol, I was feeling a little bit better. We did the ride, and then we went into Animal Kingdom, and we did the Everest roller coaster. And then we went to go see Finding Nemo the musical at 3 o'clock. And it just felt so good to sit down. And I was feeling really exhausted and really tired. But again, I just thought that like was due to the back pain. So sitting for Finding Nemo felt really nice. But then when we got back up and the show was over and we started walking back toward Africa, I was like, Dad, I'm really not feeling good. I need like water or like something. So he went to like one of the little kiosks, like they have like a little kiosks where they sell beverages every like 10 feet. So he went there, and I found like a little shady spot, and I sat down, and was like, I started to get really cold, and this had happened again. This happened Friday night. I started to get really cold, and I started shaking again. And I was like, Dad, it's happening. And he was like, well, can you stand up and let's just like try to walk out of the park? Like we can go rest in the car, because we had driven there. Like, let's go to the car and we'll rest. So I was like, okay. So we started walking, and then there's a big tree. For those of you who've been to Disney and Animal Kingdom, there's a big tree in front of Yak and Yeti, and that has like all these like pretty like Tibetan flags on it. Anyway, we got to that tree, and I was like, no, I have to sit down. And I just kind of collapsed right by the tree in like the fetal position, and just started convulsing and shaking. And I was like, you have, Dad, get like a cast member, get someone. I have to go to first aid. And so he got a housekeeper who was able to, or custodial, who started like calling her supervisor. And then at this point, I was like just shaking, and I was on the ground with my eyes closed. So I don't know like exactly when people started coming and what was happening. But at one point, like a guest stopped. He was a doctor who's just on vacation with his wife. And he stopped and was asking me some questions, which was so sweet. Like, just so sweet how strangers, like when you're not feeling well or in an emergency, how they'll just stop and go out of their way to help you or to ask. And yeah, a lot of people, I remember hearing people be like, is she okay? Is she okay? And then more and more people from Disney started showing up. And I remember opening my eyes at one point, and like just a whole like wall of like Disney people were standing around me. And at that point I was like, oh, I'm definitely like that Disney guest who is like really sick on the floor, and like the Disney cast members are like trying to block me off, like block the other guests from seeing me, because like I totally was ruining the magic of like Happy Disney World. So yeah, so eventually the Disney bypassed like their first aid, and they called the Reedy Creek Fire Department, their emergency services unit, and eventually they came and they put me on a stretcher and in an ambulance, and they brought me to the hospital. And I was in the ER, and they were doing some blood tests and everything, and then the doctor came in, and she was like, okay, so like explain to me what's going on. And I said the whole thing about my back hurting me, and like maybe I stretched wrong, and like maybe it's a disc issue, and like having the fever and stuff. And then I said like maybe they're related, maybe they're not, I don't know, but it's just kind of what I'm experiencing. And then she was like, okay, sit up. And then she didn't punch me, but like she hit me in the back. She was like, does that hurt? And I was like, yeah. And then she like hit me on the other side of the back, and she was like, does that hurt? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, those are your kidneys. And that was kind of when I was like, oh, like it all just sort of made sense. She said that it sounded like I had a UTI that spread from my bladder, so a bacterial infection that spread from my bladder to my kidneys, and that at that point the worst, one of the worst case scenarios was that then it was gonna spread to my blood. So she said that they would continue like running a bunch of tests and get me on some antibiotics and administer fluids and stuff. And then, so that was happening, which all made sense. Like, and here's the really tricky part, is that I had sort of experienced some symptoms of a UTI like a week and a half ago, but none of the symptoms, and this might be TMI, but none of the symptoms were so glaringly apparent, and I had never had a UTI before, so I didn't actually realize like what was happening. Like it sort of burned when I peed, but like not really. I wasn't straining to go to the bathroom. Like everything was fine, but I should like, even if like, I guess the lesson and what I'll tell to all you guys is, even if you think you have a UTI, even if you think like there might be a little something there, like go to the doctor as soon as possible, because it can get really bad really, really quickly. And so I wish I would have done that, although at the time, honestly, I had no idea. So so then after, like, I was, like, I was in the ER, the doctor said, okay, so we have two options. Either you can go home, we'll give you some antibiotics, you can take them at home, but if you have another episode, then you're gonna have to come back, or you can spend the night in our like observation holding space. And I was like, well, maybe I should spend the night, because I don't know if it's gonna happen again, and if it does, I would rather be here. And so in this hospital, there's like a floor where you're like not inpatient, so you haven't been admitted to the hospital, but they're like have you there for 24 hours. You have your own like little room and stuff, but they just have you there to monitor you. So yeah, I was there, and then yesterday, I believe it was, so Sunday, the nurse had come in, and originally they were like, all right, like, we're definitely going to discharge you, like, everything's fine, like, you look good. But then the test came back that the infection had spread to my blood, and that was when they were like, oh no, we can't let you go. You definitely have to stay here and get more antibiotics, and we have to monitor you. And so yeah, then they transferred me to inpatient, which is the room I'm in now, the beautiful room I'm in. And I just found out that I also like my memory, because I haven't been sleeping very well. Like last night I actually kind of did have a good night's sleep. I slept from 10 to 2, and then I woke up from 2 to 4, and then I slept from 4 to like 7:30, which compared to like the other night, oh my god, it was so much better. But because I haven't been sleeping well and like eating really, my memory is all foggy, so I can't remember exactly what I told you guys or not. But the doctor just came in and said that I need to stay one more night, for sure. So they're hoping to discharge me tomorrow. But yeah, so anyway, that is the reason why I am here. Long story short, this experience has taught me a lot. For starters, just like how grateful and like how wonderful it is to have good health and to like not have to worry about it. it'll be like a wonderful day when I don't have to go to the bathroom or like stand up and worry about like ripping my IV out or taking like this guy with me everywhere. Just things I mean, I've never been in the hospital, I've never been admitted to the hospital, so things that I never experienced before. Just feeling so grateful that, for starters, this is something that, you know, is treatable and that I'll be out of here soon. And grateful that, you know, even though this has been a really hard experience and hard on my body, I'm grateful that I had it, because it's just made me very appreciative of when I'm not sick and when I am very able and when I feel good, and so yeah, that's it for now. So just thought I'd give you that rundown, and I'm gonna watch, I think it's The Chew. The Chew is on. Or no, this isn't The Chew. The Kitchen. I don't know. It's like Food Network's show with like all the people. But anyway, I will catch up with you guys a little bit later.